I don't usually wear this Yoshi cap, but today's a special day because I finally found my old Gamecube.
You're here to steal candy from me too. Well, those blasted merry men took it all. It's been like this ever since the Ice Queen took over sweets.
The Nintendo GameCube, one of my favorite consoles of all time, with an absolutely phenomenal library of stellar games. But in any good library, there are bound to be a few stinkers, and since my memories of the GameCube are so good, I thought it would be a great idea to ruin that.
What's wrong with me?
The worst GameCube games of all time, according to Metacritic. Now, the bottom of the barrel here have been discussed at great lengths loads of times, so to give this a little bit of a spin, anything that falls into the red is fair game. I'll probably end up covering all of these eventually, but for this video we're going to be sticking with just a few. And oh, would you look at that, PK Out of the Shadows. I actually got this game for Christmas as a kid, and it wasn't because one of my grandparents had gotten me a random game or anything. I actually put this on my wishlist that year.
Don't judge me.
Growing up, I read a lot of Donald Duck comics and would always get excited whenever there was a story about Donald Duck's alter ego, PK. I had also just played through Spider-Man 2 at the time, which till this day is seen as one of the best Spider-Man games ever, so I guess I wanted more superhero stuff. Either way, even 10-year-old me knew there was something wrong with this game since it went from
Oh yeah!
to real quick. Anyway, let's take a closer look at the darn thing. The game is a third-person shooter, a very simple one at that. The difficulty has obviously been toned down so that the game would actually be playable by its younger audience. That being said, there are some problems, such as getting too close to an enemy which allows them to attack you using melee attacks. And those kill you real fast. Naturally, once you figure that out, you try to stay back, but during some of the platforming segments, an enemy will appear as you're landing on a platform. This is a problem that slows the game down a lot. You really can't rush through a level, instead you have to wait before every jump to make sure that an enemy isn't about to appear, which is a real pain. In situations where the enemy is at a good distance, the game uses a lock-on mechanic for some strafe and shoot action. However, this does not work well. Jumping to avoid bullets often loses the target and you'll have to lock on all over again. The platforming is also extremely mediocre. It seems like what the developers saw as difficulty was to make the jump slightly too long and remove all camera control. Like, that isn't hard. It's just frustrating. Throughout each level you collect these green tokens which power checkpoints, and if you don't have 15 when you reach one, it will not activate. There's an abundance of them though, so I think you would actually have to go out of your way to avoid having 15 when necessary. You also rescue these scientists. Every now and again a timer will pop up on the screen telling you that there are scientists close by that need rescuing. If you don't manage to get to them in time, well, I don't know what happens to them. I guess they die or something? It's unclear. Rinse and repeat and boom, PK Out of the Shadows. I wouldn't necessarily call this game terrible. It's by no means good, but it's playable. The soundtrack actually reminds me a lot of Ratchet and Clank. Actually, this whole game makes me wish I was playing Ratchet and Clank. Just go play Ratchet and Clank, it's a much better game.
Well, that wasn't too bad. What's next? Batman Dark Tomorrow, huh? That's Batman. I mean, how bad can it be?
5 minutes later.
This game, just wow. I really thought this video might end up being a walk in the park after PK, but nah, this game is unfathomably bad. You start off in this alleyway where with 3 punches you take out some thugs, slap some bat cuffs on their wrists and go on your merry way. Off to a good start it seems, but that ends right there. In the next segment our goal is to get across some rooftops to reach the bat signal at Gotham Police Station, and this is where the game starts showing its true colors. The camera and controls are so whack. The idea is to use the bat rope to swing across buildings. This is a lot easier said than done though. You need to position yourself perfectly to make any of the jumps, otherwise you'll run into fun problems, such as this. Oh, and look at this. Look at what Batman does at the end of his swing. Just look, what is that?
Good morning, class, and welcome to Batmaning 101. Are you ready to be a Batman? First thing you're gonna need is your bat rope. Get it ready, and then you're going to throw it into thin air here, where it should be able to grapple nicely. You following? Then I want you to swing across like so. And when you get to the end of this, I want you to stop your forward momentum, okay? Stop your forward momentum. And then I want you to throw your legs backwards. And then I want you to vault over like so, okay? Landing on the other side is not of so much of importance. You got the basic gist of it? Any questions? Yes?
I kept playing for a little while longer, but there really isn't a lot to see. The game is just constantly working against you, causing so much frustration that I couldn't bring myself to continue. This game truly deserves its spot as one of the worst GameCube games of all time.
Well, that's certainly some of my love for the GameCube ruined. However, the next game on the list should be able to fix that, since it's going to turn one of my childhood dreams into reality. I've always really liked theme parks, but since I'm a Swedish boy who has not been to the United States, I've never been to, the really big ones like Universal.
Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure. With a name like that, you may be asking yourself what this game is. The obvious thought would of course be a theme park tycoon of some kind, but that's not the case. Notice, this game is not a true representation of Universal Studios theme parks, but an interactive game based on Universal Studios theme parks, and some of the characters featured are not associated with the park.
Well, that's a good sign.
First things first, you have to pick a child. Once you've done that, Woody Woodpecker introduces you to the park. He mentions that the place is huge and that you should be careful not to get lost, but that really shouldn't be a problem. Where am I? What do I do? Where is the gameplay? So, you come across these letters for Universal Studios. I have no idea what they do, but they sure want you to feel something when you get them. However, the only thing I could focus on was the top of the screen here. Jurassic Park, Back to the Future, Jaws. What are these? I want to play these!
I take it back. I want to go back to being lost, please.
Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure is a collection of mini-games based on Universal properties. The park is basically just a large, confusing overworld hosting the games. Every minigame is extremely mediocre and at times just straight up unfair. Take Jaws for instance. You run around a boat with a little radar telling you where the shark is. Once the shark shows itself, you need to throw anything you can get your hands on into its face. The timing of this is really awkward though, since the shark has to be out of the water for it to hit, and it takes a little bit of time between pressing the throw button and it actually getting thrown. So a lot of the time you'll have everything lined up perfectly, but the timing messes everything up. Basically all of this is to say, not fun. A minigame should be something you want to come back to, and this is not something I ever want to see again. Once you complete a minigame, you get a stamp marking it as complete. Complete all the minigames and pick up all the letters of Universal Studios, and bada bim bada boom, you're done. But since we're already here, let's quickly go over the rest of the minigames. E.T. Adventure. You need to bring E.T. to a spaceship before the time runs out. This isn't hard, but it's frustrating since they want you to make these jumps over stuff. However, landing these are hit or miss, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why you sometimes fall off and other times you don't, but whatever. Get to the end in time and you win. Jurassic Park. Have you ever wanted to see a child handling a Gatling gun? Well, this is your chance. You act as the gunner in the back of a jeep driving away from various dinosaurs. Every now and then the game will ask you to press L and R to avoid an obstacle in front of the car. This minigame is fine, but it's nothing I want to play again. Waterworld, because who wouldn't want to play a bad minigame based on a bad film and a bad game about Universal Studios? Turns out this isn't even a minigame, it's just a short demonstration of what I assume was or is an attraction at the actual Universal parks.
It's like I'm really there!
The Wild Wild West. It's a target practice, that's all it is. Get a higher score to the computer and you win. I have very little to say about this. Backdraft. Oh god, well, he just died. This is just a little firefighter simulator. Run around the building, put out fires and save kids. It's bland and boring just like the rest of the game. Back to the Future. This is the only minigame that is even slightly fun, but that might just be because you're controlling the DeLorean. Basically, you're chasing Biff in his own DeLorean while exploring different locations. Bump into Biff enough times and you win. Like I said, it's the most fun I've had so far, but that isn't saying much. With all that done, you can go talk to Woody again, which will treat you to this. Wow. Universal Studios Theme Park Adventure is a mind-numbingly dull game, but it isn't Batman levels of bad. I'm sure a kid could have fun with this, but for the rest of you, stay far, far away.
Our final game for today is one that I always wanted as a kid, but I never actually got. That was probably for the best.
Shrek Extra Large. Where do I even begin with this? Look, I'm not usually one to care too much about graphics, especially when the game runs well, but this game, it looks terrible and runs just as bad. The game starts off with a tutorial for movement, combat, and Shrek's general abilities, but before we get to that, look at the animations. This just looks unfinished, it's really hard to deal with. The magic mirror acts as your guide and... Huh? What was that? I didn't quite catch that, can you repeat yourself?
Oh, no you don't. Jumping ground.
Go back to the jumping ground.
The voice lines constantly repeat, often overlapping each other, which is absolutely headache-inducing. Either way, we learn how to do some moves. Jumps, wall jumps, punches, kicks, grabs, and finally Shrek's more unusual abilities, which consist of farting to stun a target, burping fire, and lighting farts on fire. I suppose that sure, these all fit into Shrek's character, but they don't work well at all. Since movement is so janky, it's hard to get into the right position to fart on your enemies. Now, that's a sentence I never thought I would say. Not that it matters too much, these abilities are fairly useless. Combat in the game is straight garbage anyway, there's no challenge at all. Once you're done with the tutorial, the magic mirror sends you to a map area that connects different levels. Jumping into level 1, we are treated to a Wait, what is that? Who thought this was okay? Did anyone look at this before selling it? Did someone seriously take a good long look at this and say,
Yeah, that's good.
the levels are really poorly designed. It's very easy to lose track of what's going on, where you're supposed to go, and what the goal is. There are puzzles scattered around each level, but they're ridiculously simple, and sure, the game is for Wait a second. This game's rated T. For teen. Why is it rated T? That makes absolutely no sense at all. Shrek Extra Large is one of those games that I'm sure a lot of kids ended up getting for Christmas or birthdays growing up, which is unfortunate seeing as there are several great platformers for the Gamecube. This just isn't one of them.
Well, that's 4 of the worst GameCube games of all time covered. The list goes on, but that'll have to wait for another time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go book a therapy session.